Whether you liked it or didn't like it, one of the things about Obamacare is that it was paid for when it was put in place. And so repealing it, we would save a lot of money by savings coming from getting rid of the coverage provisions that are part of the bill. But we would also lose a lot of money because in the bill there is also a good deal of savings that comes from higher revenues, taxes, and from Medicare savings. So if we go ahead and repeal it in full, by our estimates, that's going to cost $350 billion at a time that we really can't afford to be adding anything to the debt. Now, there are other ways to look at how we're going to repeal it and replace it. You could repeal part of it, some of the more costly parts, the coverage provisions, but keep in place some of the things, for instance, the Medicare savings. Republicans have been talking about doing that, but we still don't have a plan for what they would replace it with. And as much as you could generate in savings from repealing the coverage provisions and some other parts, somewhere between $300 and $700 billion, that's not going to be enough to pay for the replacement. So what I worry about is that we're looking at something that could add to the debt at a time we can't afford that.
It's true we don't know exactly what a replacement would be, but some of the ideas that circulate on Congress include giving away tax credits to help individuals buy health care on the market. Do you support that idea?
That can work, certainly. The question is how generous they'll be, who they'll be targeted at, and what the overall cost would be. There's a couple different pieces that really play into analyzing this. One, the overall cost of the bill, how much it would add or hopefully subtract to the debt. And two, really importantly, that shouldn't be lost in all of this is, what are we going to do to be controlling costs of health care? Because when it comes to health care, you can have people paying for it through premiums, or you can have the government paying for it. People think they don't see the cost, but they're still paying for it that way. The real objective, in addition to keeping coverage for folks who need it, is bringing the overall cost of health care down. And that has a lot to do with how we structure it and change incentives. So that's why the details of these bills, the replacement bills, are going to be so important in terms of the overall costs.
Hey, Maya, just a question on process here over the next few months. If there is a prolonged fight on ACA, does that displace a meaningful discussion about tax reform or infrastructure or deregulation? How many runways can they have open at the same time?
Yeah, it's a great question because we're just back from the holidays, and in Washington it already feels like you are drinking from a fire hose, right? There is so much that is coming at members of Congress who are just coming back in terms of policy. Clearly the first priority is going to be ACA repeal, Obamacare repeal, but the question is what comes next? How do you replace it? What about those tax cuts? Infrastructure spending. They've talked about wanting to do something on defense. By the way, as those bills are crafted, all of them would add to the debt, but there really is only so much bandwidth for dealing for these things. I do think that healthcare reform and tax reform are likely to be the initial priorities for the coming months, but it is going to be a busy time here in Washington. And from our perspective, we really have to be looking at the bottom line, how it's going to be affecting the fiscal situation, the economic situation, and therefore the well-being of American households.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.